Thank you so much for honoring me and supporting me. I will never forget this day and the crowd in Tule Lake.
Dear Heavenly Father, we just ask your blessing on this evening, and Mike Byrne and the whole Byrne family. We ask a blessing on everybody in this room. And my prayer would be that we would all turn to you in everything we do as the creator of this great land and the person that can, or the God that can change everything. So we ask blessing on our administrations and the future administration coming in. And we ask all this in Jesus' name, amen.
Thank everybody for coming out tonight to honor a community treasure, Mike Byrne. I think all of us will agree that Mike's a special part of what makes our community a special place. Too often we don't celebrate the contributions of our community members who live their lives with a mission of helping their neighbors, their industry, their community, and their country along the way. And then we were faced with the moment one day where we wish we had taken the time to do it and say we love you.
You can't find a better friend than Mike Byrne. One that knows more people and has done the right thing all of his life.
Just an update, this is the number estimated by the Klamath County Sheriff's Department. There's 8,000 of us here in the park. There's 5,000 more on Main Street.
I hope some of the young kids around here will take example of what Mike's done. You know, and he's never asked for credit ever. He just shows up, gets it done, moves on, and then thinks about, crap, I should have been home, taking care of the cows or all that other stuff, but he still does it.
Mike is a selfless community leader, and I'll repeat the word selfless, because everything he does is not for him. The Lands Coalition stuff, the water issues, the cattleman stuff, he didn't do that for Mike Byrne. He did it for everybody, and he did it because he did it what was right. And Mike has always stood for what's right, and not necessarily what was best for him.
I should have been a cowboy. I should have learned to rope and ride.
We went through all the Senate offices and everything. One day we come back and Mike says, "This guy don't know me. He's busier than hell anyway. But we'll go in and drop our cards there, and he'll know we called on him." Mike went in there and he was giving the secretary a bad time, and there was a hallway down there, about 6 offices in it, and this guy says, "I think I heard a friendly voice out there." And he stuck his head out and he says, "That you, Byrne? Come on in." He was a senator from Montana, Democrat, but he knew Mike, and we had a big visit with him. He told the gal, he says, you take these guys I'm talking to and go in there and entertain them for a little while. I'm going to visit with old Byrne a little bit. And that's the way he did things.
What do I say, Mike? It's be yourself. And that's who Mike is. He's always been himself. It's his heart as big as this room and this valley. He's done so much for all of us, and it's just been as Brad said, you're a lifelong friend, and I'm so grateful that we were put together in a weird way.
Happiness on earth ain't just for high achievers. I come to know there's life at both ends of that red dirt road.
A great political advocate is somebody that can walk across wet concrete and not leave footprints. Mike's done so many amazing things that you've heard about, but a lot of things that you haven't heard about. And he's such a humble guy.
The stories about Washington, D.C. are just phenomenal, because it's not a joke that it can be somebody from Delaware or Florida or Hawaii, whoever. But if they've met Mike or had a conversation, they generally remember Mike, but they also go away knowing a little bit more about what we do in the West and some of the troubles we face.
It's where I drank my first beer. It's where I found Jesus. Where I wrecked my first car. I tore it all to pieces.
Was it worth it? Was it worth it? And did it make a difference? And I can't answer that question for myself, but I can answer that question for Mike Byrne. Everything you did was worth it. And everything you did made a difference. And I'll say this, of all the things that I've done politically and in this community, I'm no more proud of anything than I am my friendship with Mike Byrne.
That red dirt road.
I don't know about you, but how many times have you been talking to Mike and he'll say something and he's got a twinkle in his eye and you know it's supposed to be funny and you're going, yeah.
One of those times I'm riding to Steel Swamp. I'm driving, he's riding with me, and I got my oldest son, Jared's about 7 years old, riding with us in the pickup. And Mike is in prime Mike fashion telling me, I don't even remember what, but he is going 100 miles an hour. And all of a sudden, my son Jared looks at him and goes, hey, you said that backwards. And Mike stops in his tracks and points his finger in Jared's chest and says, I threw the cow over the fence. Some hay. That's backwards.
Mike's trying to train me up on all of his world, and I'm writing notes trying to think, what the hell's he just told me? I don't know what he's saying. He's talking about Klamath Lake levels, river levels, and ESA and hot lip hooligan, and they'd be going on. And I think the only reason he did that kind of crap is because he knew I was struggling, so he'd throw in, as you all know, he loves MASH and he loves Pretty Woman. And I probably heard every line of it during that summer.
My dad and brother said, you need to get down there and meet that Mike Byrne and figure him out a little. So I went down there and come away with a really good deal with him. We shared about 15-mile fence, and I was going to do the fence work, and he was going to go to all the meetings for me. And that worked real good for about 10 years.
You know, I run into Mike, I go, aren't you going to plant this spring? And he's like, just gave me this weird look. He said, Sid, you know the trouble with the potato business? I go, what's that, Mike? He goes, well, you're either in the in-house, which is a packing shed, or you're in the outhouse. If you're in the outhouse, it stinks.
Many of you might know the story about Dean and I. We were married for 18 years, and then we divorced a few years after I left Klamath Water Users. And then through a miraculous series of events, we ended up back together and remarried 7 years ago. So I've actually been married twice, but to the same woman. So every time Mike sees Duda, he'll say, you know, I like me a lot better than his first wife.
I was in I think it was some kind of leadership group through USDA, and Sarah Brosh was a part of that, and John Bolts was a part of that. And he said, man, this guy was from Klamath, and I thought he was a little off. But then I realized he wasn't. He really knew what he was talking about. And I just said, that's Mike Byrne. And he goes, yeah, how'd you know that? I go, yeah, we know.
So, Mike, I'm going to quote the great poet, Townes Van Zandt. I want you to remember, time flies like an arrow, fruit flies like a banana. Think about it.
And really, for all the stories he's told me, there's one that really stands out. And yet I feel like I can't repeat it in a public crowd. And then the next day, that's what he was talking about. Or like 2 days later, that's what he was talking about.
I've never seen a guy that can go from whatever he's doing to something else at the flip of a switch like Mike can. And it doesn't matter if it's a speech or even just cleaning up. He could come out of the feedlots and look like he belongs in a boardroom in 10 minutes, you know.
What he's doing, he researches. He knew Sue Ellen Woolrich played basketball sometime. And during this little pause, he said something about her uniform, and I can't remember the words, but have anybody been places where you wish you weren't there? He said that. She looked at him. I wanted to get the hell out of there. It was a look, it wasn't a hate look, but she looked at him like, what the hell did you just tell me? And I thought, oh shit. And then she looked down for about seemed forever, and then she looked up, smiled, and went on. And then he poked me in the ribs. She remembers me.
We were branding bulls one spring, and the squeeze chute come apart and knocked me upside of the head, and I was unconscious for about 12 hours, but I was out on my feet. So after a while, the wife got tired of me asking the same question every 5 minutes, so she loads me up, take me over, and they throw me in a hospital bed and say, he'll be fine as soon as the brain decompresses. And in the meantime, in that 12 hours while I'm out on my feet, I get a phone call from Mike Byrne. It's the only time in my life where I actually understood every word he said. In the 12 hours that I was unconscious, I remember that phone call.
The Adopt a Juniper program was he was gonna send, like cover the Bay Area in these pamphlets about, for just $1 a day, you could adopt a juniper, and they'll send a picture once a year, and I'm really surprised that hasn't taken off. I keep looking for it.
And the most memorable thing out of all of this is the legacy that you're leaving with your kids and your grandchildren and the Robert A. Byrne Ranch. You've done a fine job, my friend, and we appreciate all that you've done.
There isn't much I can add other than to say I'm proud to walk the trail with Mike, and what an outstanding event to see all you folks here tonight. Thank you.
A decade later, it was the winter Zach had decided to ask for Dad's blessing before he proposed. Zach was sitting in the feed truck with Dad. He'd probably opened quite a few gates in quite a bit of thick mud. And when he asked, Dad didn't say yes or no. Dad said, well, I trust Brianna. And if she chooses you, then I know she's making the right choice. And that respect of how he and Mom had raised me, that respect for the decision I was bound to make with or without his blessing, that respect for who I'd become was really the biggest compliment he ever could give.
We thank Mike for his many efforts and his continued support to this day, and we stand with the community in saying we appreciate what he has done and thank you for what you continue to do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to share with my colleagues and the nation my regard for an outstanding America. I yield back my time.
With water users was not a total piece of cake. It was rough, and we were working on really, really tough things. And to have the support, never wavered. To have the support of somebody like Mike meant everything. It just meant we could keep doing what we were doing. And we tried really hard. So Mike, appreciate everything. Thank you.
Klamath Water Users Association thanks and honors Mike Byrne for his lifelong commitment to agriculture, his leadership, and his contributions to the Klamath-Basin community, and salutes him as an exemplary individual whose legacy will inspire future generations. And it was unanimously adopted by the Board of Directors.
I'm just going to close with, I thank Mike for his friendship. I always looked up to Mike. He was and is a real role model for me. He was honest. He saw through people in ways that few could. He was very open-hearted and treated everybody well. He had the great ability to focus on the bottom line of a complex situation, even if sometimes I didn't understand what he was saying and how he got there. Still, it's been a privilege to know Mike and his family. It was a privilege to work with him while he was president of the Public Lands Council, and it's still a privilege to be his friend. I'm grateful for this privilege and for the privilege of being here tonight to celebrate Mike with all of you.
Therefore, it be resolved by Senator Megan Daly that Michael J. Burns be commended for his exemplary record of commitment to agriculture and ranching in the state of California, and extend his sincere best wishes for his gratitude and success in the future. On behalf of us and the state of California, we are proud to have you as our neighbor, and thank you for your service to Modoc County and to California and to this nation, quite frankly, for agriculture.
And even though my path is different than his, he's always encouraged me and supported me through school and after to today working together on the ranch. I've always shared respect mutually, and he's been willing to let me try, and he's been gracious when I found things out. And finally, like the rest of you, I do really try to get the jokes. He once surprised me, and it pleased me, when he told me that I get it. But in true Mike fashion, he followed it up by saying, every once in a while. He's always serious when he's working. But it's always with a joke and a smile, and that's a good thing. Love you, Deb, like so many of those who are here today.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming. I think that some of these words are a little bit overstated, but I'm not going to ignore them. Anyway, have a great kids, have a great family, have a great wife, and I'm really proud to see all of you here and hope we can do this again.
Run your car off the side of the road.
Hi, Mike. John O'Keefe. I've spent tons of time with Mike walking around the halls of Congress, riding on the Steens Mountain with the BLM director. My wife still talks about the time she was at NCBA and he was introducing her to people as his ex-wife.
Hey, Mike. Sky and the grandson True here. Second trip down to Tule Lake. First trip was pretty eventful, if you remember that. I had a good time and looking forward to having a good time tonight. And thinking about all the memories back when you and I were in the Public Lands Council together and all those meetings we went and attended to. And anyway, pleasure to be down here and look forward to seeing you tonight. Thank you.
We were all having dinner in a particular restaurant together, and we were ordering our steaks. Everybody was getting their order in, and the waitress come around to Mike, and he said, "Well, I'll have the sirloin steak, medium rare." And she says, "And will you have the potato or the rice pilaf?" And he says, "Well, I'll have a potato." What was that other shit?
I married Scott Soyce, and he brought me here as an import to the Klamath Basin, and I knew no one. And Mike Byrne was one of the first people to ever love me and just treat me really well and make me feel good. And when Scott would go out of town on hunting trips, Mike would oftentimes check in on me and say, "Hey, how you doing? You cooking dinner? Can I come over and eat?" And one time he said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I was actually repainting the entire interior of the house. And Scott didn't know about this. And so at the last minute, I decided that to make it all better, I would hang a TV in our bedroom. And so Mike said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm mounting a TV." End of story. Hey, Mike, this is Mary, or I guess you know, it is Patsy. Don't call me Mary anymore. But anyway, my favorite Mike memory is when we started doing the Bucket Brigade and we were seeing each other every single day. You told me the world is run by people who show up. And you are the one who has always showed up for all of us, for not only the basin, but for the state and for, in many cases, the nation. Thank you, Mike, for showing up. I love you.
And so just really have appreciated Mike all the years and all the great work that he's done on the Alpha community. Thank you, Mike.
We really appreciate all you've done. It's great to be here with all of our friends, and God bless, and I want to watch what you do in the future. Take care, bud.
Hola, estoy aquí para agradecerle y presentar mi presencia para Michael Byrne. Él ha trabajado para él mucho tiempo. Él ha hecho mucho por mí, por mi familia, y me ha ayudado. Y lo estimo mucho y lo quiero mucho a toda la familia.
When we were with Papa at Steel Swamp, and we were driving around on four-wheelers, and Dad had to take off his clothes and go diving in the ditch to get the stuff out of the pipe. Papa Mike is nice, and One time he came to watch Maverick with us for like 2 weeks. Sometimes he says something to you that you don't get, but later that day or a couple days after that, you finally get it. And it's funny.
Something special about Papa Mike is he always tries to make you laugh. One special thing he said to me once is I said good morning, then he said good afternoon, but maybe a bad one.
He likes us being around the ranch and helping out move cows. He liked photos with us in like big fields, and we going on adventures, and it's super fun. Like sometimes he tells the joke to you, and then you remember it and tell it to your kids, and then the kids tell it to their kids, and it just passes on, and it's nice.
Some fun things we've done together is chasing cows down to the bullpen and sorting.
And I like when he keeps donuts and cookies in his truck, 'cause he gives us them usually when we're out on a jog.
I thank you, Papa Mike, for making the ranch what it is today and giving us so much fun.
I just wanted to tell you how proud I was of you at your party last week. I know how much time and effort you put into the various issues over the years for the basin. How great that so many of your friends thought that too and gave you the accolades that you deserved. They also had some funny stories to tell about you, which of course that should be what they did, because after all, this was a party for Mike Byrne, and Mike Byrne has to have jokes at his party. I'm so happy that the people that gave you this recognition are people that you respect. Love you.